India has suspended the issue of visas to Canadian citizens till further notice. This news comes amid the massive international row over claims by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's government that it has intelligence linking New Delhi to the murder of Hardeep Singh Nijjar, a pro-Khalistani Sikh terrorist who was killed earlier this year. Now, on this latest development regarding the visas, what the notice by BLS International, that's the online visa application center, it, however, says that visa services had been suspended due to operational reasons. So there's nothing from the foreign ministry on this. It's so far the reason being given is due to operational reasons. But this comes amid, as we said, this heightened tension between India and Canada. In fact, yesterday, India had issued an advisory for Indian citizens traveling to Canada, which stated in view of growing anti-India activities and politically condoned hate crimes and criminal violence in Canada, all Indian nationals there and those contemplating travel are urged to exercise utmost caution. So for the first time, India putting out this very strong advisory about travel to Canada, and now this news coming of an issue, with the visas being currently suspended over some operational reasons is what we're being told. Let's go across to Neeta now for more. Neeta, what can you tell us?
See, Gargi, as you were mentioning, that there is nothing official about it as of now, but for operational reasons, India has indeed suspended visa services for Canadians. The kind of tensions between both the countries we have seen in a strong worded statement which is coming from both the countries. In fact, when you look at the statement issued by the Canadian authorities, they say that they have credible information that elements in the government are responsible for the events which are unfolding there in Canada. So obviously they are naming somebody in the government. Even from the Indian side also, they have also taken a strong stance. They have issued advisories. They have advised their citizens not to travel there. So obviously the kind of standoff between both the countries has reached its peak as of now. So obviously we are waiting for some kind of a formal statement from Ministry of External Affairs or the Foreign Office from the Canadian authorities to know exactly what kind of visas they have stopped. Because there are n number of visas, levels are different. Visas are different for students, visas are different for the OCI card holders. So obviously they need to mention what kind of visas have been suspended. But in the meantime, as you were mentioning, that due to the operational reasons, this visa services have been suspended as of now. Gargi?
All right, Neeta, thanks so much for joining us with those details. Well, to talk more about these developments, we're now joined by Prabhu Dayal, a former diplomat, and Jitendra Nath Mishra, former ambassador as well. Thank you so much for joining us. Prabhu Dayal, first to you, sir. Your comments on this sort of heightened tensions, unprecedented sort of situation that we find ourselves vis-a-vis Canada, this latest development, the visas being, stopped for the moment in Canada. However, we're being told it's operational reasons. Nothing from the foreign ministry to suggest that this is, another move by India.
Well, Gargi, tensions between India and Canada are escalating. And under these circumstances, there are threats which are going to be posed to the functioning of the Indian High Commission in Canada. As it is, Khalistani extremists have been attacking our High Commission. And of course, they have been attacking the Indian community, which is non-Sikh and which is residing in Canada. So the situation is volatile. And in view of the security-related aspects of the matter, it is always prudent to suspend visa operations because you would be letting in people into your premises and even letting in people into the country who could pose dangers. So it is always best to play safe and suspend visa operations under these circumstances. And I think our High Commission has done the right thing.
Right, but Ambassador Dayal, right now we don't have any official word, of course. We're being told operational reasons, and it's a big step and one that will affect a lot of people, a lot of Indians, a lot of Indian to Canada ties that the Aam Aadmi as such has.
Well, they have not been suspended forever.
No, sure.
It is not that there will be no visas given in perpetuity. But keeping in mind the present circumstances, these visa-related activities have been suspended. And I highlighted the security aspects which are pertinent in this matter, as also, of course, the fact that the head of the visa division is the diplomat who has been expelled by Canada, was declared a persona non grata. So there are operational factors which are coming in the way.
All right, Ambassador Mishra, your comments on this and also this situation, the heightened tensions between India and Canada. Yesterday, India also issuing that very strongly worded advisory against travel to Canada.
Well, Gargi, thank you very much for this invitation. It's always a pleasure to talk to NDTV, and I wait for calls from you because you are sane and you are calm. And let's have a calm discussion. Let's not get hysterical. Firstly, let me tell you a story. I'm going a little bit off the tangent about the broader relationship and the structural problems therein. Now, just a couple of days back, a very distinguished international news channel approached me for a quote on this issue. And here is the quote I gave them after talking to them about the missteps by Mr. Trudeau, the Prime Minister. And here I quote, "Trudeau's political opportunism and missteps are part of a larger structural problem in India-Canada ties. He is not the first Canadian politician to put votes before principles, but he has gone further down this path than his predecessors, creating a crisis in ties to India. For this, he is being criticized not just in India, but in Canada. Some Canadian politicians brazenly denigrate India's territorial integrity by association with terrorists who do." Now, instead of using this, they use something like a politician has internal compulsions and he has to strike a balance between internal compulsions and international partnerships, and an important one like that with India. They only use that completely out of context. And I'm putting this structurally in the context of a much larger problem with the Western world, including primarily the UK and then Australia, and then even the United States, as far as Khalistan, as far as Kashmiri terrorists are concerned. You are using you are weaponizing a community for electoral gain, which is crass opportunism. I'm not saying that this is not done in other countries. It's done throughout the world. But then you have to be mindful of the consequences and pay the price. Trudeau has gone further down this path. Now, this channel didn't use my quotes, obviously, and they said we'll use only a part of it. I said nothing doing. And that's the problem. And this is a very distinguished Western channel. I want to tell our citizens we have to be responsible. Our responsibility primarily is towards our own country. We look at the world from India, and I'm proud of NDTV for doing that. And coming to the other issue, now, if you are now polarizing seemingly Indo-Canadians, right? Sikh versus Hindu, you are also denigrating and undermining the internal cohesion of your own country. Forget about India. So are you doing the right thing? I asked my Canadian friends this question. And of course, India has not taken such extreme steps, diplomatic steps so far. Only diplomatic steps.
In fact, Ambassador Mishra, I just want to inform you and Ambassador Dayal that we've received information that the notice has now been removed. This notice that was put up over the suspension of visa services till further notice has now been removed. It did say it was because of operational reasons. I think the media, all of us, you know, because of the heightened tensions, we're all looking at these various developments that are taking place. But that's some positive news in a sense, because Ambassador Mishra, this, you know, and both of you are diplomats. So given, you know, all these public posturings that are happening, tit for tat, and you know, news of the visa, for the moment, just to, you know, bring down tempers, a lot of back channel effort is also required. First to you, Ambassador Mishra.
Yes, yes, I'll just continue. And so therefore, Mr. Trudeau probably, even though he's a very consummate politician for sure, and he was in a way playing to the gallery, and he announced it in Parliament. Now that's very serious. To do it in Parliament, And that means, and without any evidence being presented. Now, if you think that you have a strong suspicion, you can do quiet diplomacy. Don't build it up to a level where you cannot backtrack. And I think he made tactically a huge mistake. And then he says that we don't want to escalate this with India, but then it's too late. India had no choice than to retaliate. Now, the other question is, why don't we do similar things to the UK? The UK has been doing this for at least as long as Canada, because UK, as a diplomat and a practitioner, former practitioner, I'll say the UK is a more consequential power in the world than Canada, and it's a more consequential relationship with the UK, even with Australia, and of course with the United States. But they're all the culprits, and therefore I see a huge structural problem in the relationship. Let's go back to Kanishka. It was the Kanishka bombing was never properly investigated in Canada. There was a lot of heartbreak in India about this catastrophe that happened for India, and that still haunts us. And as a citizen, I feel very concerned. So if you are hobnobbing with terrorists who are denigrating India, undermining India's territorial integrity, threatening to kill Indian diplomats, that means you are abetting terrorism and you are abetting India's territorial integrity. Then you talk about your territorial integrity and being undermined. So it's a little bit of double standards, and I'm really sorry. It could have been handled better. Having said that, Canada is still a very friendly country. Let's not get hysterical.
In fact, I was a child in Toronto at the time of the Kanishka bombing. I actually knew people who were on that flight then. And you know, now if you go back into history, Prime Minister Trudeau's father is the one who refused Indira Gandhi's requests for certain people. And they are the ones who went on to plan the Kanishka bombing. So this has been on for a long time. You know, the Khalistan sympathy in Canada. But suddenly in recent years, it's, you know, really come to the fore. And Ambassador Dayal, your comments on now, you know, the way forward, because we do need somewhat a dialing down of these tensions and these heightened sort of situation that we're now seeing.
Well, Gargi, my first intervention related to the issue of the suspension of visas, because that was your question to me. I didn't go into other issues. Now, you mentioned that in recent months, there has been an escalation of tension as regards the Khalistanis who are operating from Canada. There is no doubt about it. India has taken up the activities of the Khalistanis with the Canadian government on a number of occasions. But unfortunately, the government of Justin Trudeau is not doing anything. And I'm afraid this relates to the issue of vote bank politics. Canadian Sikhs are 2% of the population of Canada. That may not look a very large number, but Justin Trudeau got less votes in the last election in 2021 than even the Conservative Party. He got only 160 seats, whereas he needed at least 170 seats. Now, he was supported from outside, and Justin Trudeau formed a minority government with the support of the New Democratic Party, which is headed by Jagmeet Singh. And Jagmeet Singh, he is an outspoken person as regards Khalistani separatists. And on a number of occasions, he has actively supported their demand for a separate nation. So the activities of the Khalistanis have been allowed to go on. In fact, they feel encouraged because of the support. They have gone directly from Jagmeet Singh, who heads the New Democratic Party, and then in turn from Justin Trudeau, who needs Jagmeet Singh's support. So this is all vote bank politics, and Canada's Prime Minister, unfortunately, has fallen in a trap. He's finding it very difficult to come out.
Right, and unfortunately on both sides, the opposition also, you know, panders to that vote. It's a very powerful vote there in Canada. We'll have to leave it there. Thank you so much both for joining us on the program.